Dragos, based on your location, what's your analysis of the authorities and the law in Romania, and then what I see being minions of the Matrix and the worldwide cabal that wants to silence our brother and his brothers out there?
We're basically a colony of the European Union, and we're bitching ourselves out we're whoring ourselves out to both the European Union and the United States. Right now, the geopolitical waves or interests are in such a way that we want to get into the Schengen area. So basically, our panties are down and we're bent over.
Is this like a witch hunt where they're trying to earn brownie points from the West? With the Tate brothers.
I'm not sure if it's a witch hunt, but I'm sure it's a situation of, if somebody says that they should jump, they ask how high.
I've noticed, sorry, Rich, I've noticed that with Ireland as well. All these small countries that have joined the EU, they want to jump how high, and they want to be the best kid in the class. It's just ridiculous. Like
brownie points.
I saw a notice while I was back home in Ireland recently, and it was like a public service notice at a bus stop, and or at an airport, and the EU flag was at the bottom. And I stopped with my girl. I said, "Do you see anything wrong with that public service announcement and that poster?" She's like, "No." I said, "Yeah, there's no Irish flag there. There's only an EU flag." So it's the same thing's going to happen in Romania when the call comes in from Guy Verhofstadt or from Brussels. Do this, take this person out. They're going to do it.
I've actually went into a pretty heated discussion with Guy on Twitter.
Yeah, he's an unelected soy bureaucrat. He's one of the ugliest people in Europe, and he's got the worst hairstyle. But I digress.
He's actually not wrong on most things, but he is wrong on some things, and he's very far off wrong.
So I recently saw a prediction that Britain was going to rejoin the EU.
I doubt it. I mean, it's going to take a huge push from the globalist side of things. Dragos, I wanted to ask you, what's the general consensus? Like, what's the country saying about this whole thing with Andrew and Tristan Tate right now?
Everybody's kind of divided in the sense that you have people which have a bit of critical thinking, and they say, I don't know Andrew, I don't know what he's done. But
he's put Romania on the map. He's done that. Yeah. Everyone's
kind of like how Borat put Kazakhstan on the map too.
No, right? Besides that, right? Like, I'm talking about people that don't know Andrew or maybe have heard of Andrew Tate, and they're like, we don't know what's happening, but something's fishy and it stinks, because that's the same playbook that they've used for everybody else that got rich and powerful in Romania, so that they could cancel them and bring them down, because it's happened to politicians and other people in Romania before.
And they've been successful with it?
It depends on what you define by success. Most of those people have exited the public domain.
So is he still in custody?
Sorry?
Is he still in? Are they still in custody? I thought I saw that they had gotten released.
No, for 30 days until the end of January. But
he is still in arrest because they denied the claim to freedom.
Yeah, my understanding is recently they managed to get an order to seize more assets, like his car collection and whatever assets they could get out of his property. So they're saying that they need it to fund the claims against them and to also pay damages to anybody that they might award damages to in the future. So this doesn't sound like a catch and release type of situation. It sounds like it's going to take some time to sort of deal with, but there's no question in my mind that he's going to leave. Like, he said very nice things about Romania over the last few years that I've known him anyway, both publicly and privately. And I wouldn't stay there either. Like, once he's out, then he's probably going to bounce.
Yeah, they've said very nice things about Romania even while in custody.
Yeah.
I always wonder if it's one of those things where they just want to make him irrelevant. So remember the name like Milo Yiannopoulos? He was everywhere years ago, and then they kind of did this whole thing on him, and no one even thinks. Yeah, no one thinks about him anymore. Here's one. Remember Martin Shkreli, the finance bro who bought like insulin or something and raised it some crazy amount, and he was the most evil man in the world a few years back? I didn't realize that he's out of jail. I don't even know if he went to jail. He popped up on my feed the other day. I'm like, oh, I remember that name. Watched like 2 minutes of his cast, and he's just some like gaming finance dork, and he's actually really smart, really bright. I enjoy some of his content, but he just fell off the face of the earth in terms of the public sphere. I'm wondering if that's the end game with the Tates. Like, it doesn't really matter if they get arrested or jailed or not, as long as they disappear.
I didn't quite finish my reply. Mm-hmm. There's two types of people that have their views in Romania about Tate. One of the categories is the people that look at this as with a critical thinking type of view, even though they might know about Andrew or Tristan or both of them or not. But they know that usually when something like this happens and it's not some wide-backed gorilla somewhere in a fucking second-rate city in Romania pimping out some whatever you want to use, word you want to use, chicks that look like grandma. Those are the types of guys that get busted for the accusations that they have been busted on. So you got these people that look at this and say, okay, something's up. I think it's an Al Capone type of situation where they came into his house on some bogus accusations. They took the laptops, the PCs, the hard drives, everything. They went through that trying to look for something else. And now they're finding something else, and they're hitting them with the book, hoping that something will stick. And then you've got the second type of people in Romania, which are basically brainwashed idiots that watch TV and that would read news article and believe every single word, even though they look at the facts written in the article. And it's like a combination between an article written in 2015 with some other piece of information that was in 2019 and something else to prove that something happened in 2022. And it's like a total word spaghetti sandwich. And they don't have the critical thinking capacity to look through that and see what it is.
Well, I mean, those are the two people these days. Critical thinking skill, that's most people these days. Critical thinking skills has been sucked out of everybody because the powers to be don't want critical thinkers, right?
But it's a bit different in Romania. It's a bit different in Romania in the sense that even though most people don't have critical thinking, they're very skeptical of mainstream media. They're very skeptical of the government. Yes,
I am
because.
No, I'm noticing that too, Drake. Is that I agree. For the first time ever back in Ireland, I have noticed that there is skepticism rising about the government, and I've given up waiting to get to the conspiracy theory or the conspiracy theory to come through. We all know that the authorities were sent after the Tates because of their influence on young men, and that the reason why my 14-year-old son and every one of his bros follows these guys religiously, they do not want guys getting unplugged from the Matrix, and that's why they took him. That's why they took him out. If he was
one reason why somebody would get canceled out of their Uber account.
Well, they canceled everything simultaneously.
What reason is there for that?
If that
it's a coordinated attack. It's
if that doesn't prove that there's a worldwide cabal to cancel him everywhere. There was a meeting took place. It was remember what was the Mafia Council? They said it didn't exist, but we all knew it existed. And there is a globalist mafia council, as far as I'm concerned, that just said, okay, we need to take this guy out because he's unplugging young men.
Yeah, there's clearly different levels to this. Like there's a level that tech companies will operate at, because for Twitter, Facebook, Meta, all these platforms, payment processors, Stripe, PayPal, Airbnb, for all these guys to coordinate this very quickly within a 24 to 48 hour period, they clearly have a table somewhere or a hotline where they can deal with stuff like this, right? Like there's different levels to the way that the Matrix operates.
Yeah, it's like an invasion, ground, air, and sea, and they have to be coordinated.
It used to be that those sorts of actions wouldn't happen until there was proof. Now it's just allegations. And I'm not so sure that it's because he's unplugging young men and because he's speaking truth. I think it's because he's offending the weak betas out there that have had success, and they just take personal offense to it. They just don't like the guy because he causes them to look in the mirror and realize what chumps they actually are. And there's nothing more dangerous, right, than a weak man, right, as Jordan Peterson says. And so
there's nothing more dangerous than a weak man with power.
Yes,
and we have lots of weak men with power, and so they see someone like Tate, and they don't even care that he's unplugging these young men because they don't even care about the young men. In either way, they're registering that thought. They just don't like how he makes themselves feel, and so
I think a great example of a weak man, as you said, a dangerous, powerful weak man, but they're also the most vengeful, and they build it up over years. And I think one of those guys is Adam Schiff. You can tell that guy was a soy beta, got beat up as a kid. The quarterback probably plowed his sister, and the guy is carrying it around for effing years. And like the nerds who didn't get power when they were young absolutely resent people who were able to wield it. And
these are the guys 50 that usually go into law, right? Like one of the common sound bites that you'll hear from them is that the pen is mightier than the sword, because they realize that they cannot wield a sword, but they realize how much power the pen has when you use the law too, right?
The activist attorneys.
I mean, if there's anything as far as a lesson here, it's don't fly too close to the sun. And I think that he had probably done that, which is why he's in the situation that he's in right now.
He got too big too fast.
Rich, I think you need to write that quote down. Those who say the pen is mightier than the sword say so because they cannot wield the sword.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's a common theme. Like, I know a lot of lawyers. I mean, I was married to one, right?
Yeah. The prosecutor that's on Tate's case is also one of the prosecutors of the people trafficking director, or somebody in charge. I'm missing the word because it's legalese in Romania. And for him, it's a good way to advance in his career by getting notorious in very public cases.
Is human trafficking huge in Romania like it is in the U.S.? Like, a lot of people don't realize in the U.S. I read this recently that we have more slaves now than we did at any time pre-Civil War, just because it's so abundant.
I would be surprised if those charges stick. I think if anything, they might find something on the other end when it comes to capital being produced and how it was produced, whether or not it complied with law. I don't know. I mean,
it's a practice the world over. There's an attorney general in the state of New York, and she's going after Trump for the exact same reason. She just wants to make a name for herself.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's,
so and you know what? I hate to say it. Well, I think Top G is bigger than Trump. So this prosecutor is going to make himself famous worldwide.
Yeah.
You always have to hate someone, and Trump's out of the limelight now.
You always have to hate someone else, right? You always have to have an enemy. The sad thing is the human trafficking that he's being accused of, which is obviously, I'm 95% sure that's just totally bogus, right? I always have some reserved, but what people don't realize it's only a business because of weak men. Strong men don't go to these drugged out, held against their will prostitutes. I mean, come on. It's a bunch of simps and betas and weak men out there that fuel that whole economy. I mean, it's just nuts, man. And weak men are destroying the world right now.
That's what I've always wondered. I tell guys, like, for dating type advice, like, get 2,000 followers on Instagram and have a solid Instagram and see what happens. Like, you will have girls coming into your DMs. And I've experienced that. Any guy I've told that to, where they've done the work on the online dating type side, they've experienced that. So now amplify that by just a multitude. And then you get someone like Tate. This guy's he's the most famous guy on the planet right now. Do you really think that he has to traffic chicks, or that he has to drug chicks or abuse them? Or are they lining up? He's probably beating them away or beating them off with an ugly stick. Like, get out of here. I've got shit to do.
I'll say this. I mean, like, every interaction that I've had, whether it was public in a podcast or private in conversations that I've had, I've always been left with the opinion that they're true gentlemen when it comes to that. So again, I would be surprised if any of that sticks.
Most guys that
You
get
have
laid
to
or
make
guys that manage
distinction.
chicks are true gentlemen. Like
Yeah.
if they did the webcam thing, you're not going to have girls work for you and
Whether or
make a
not it
bunch of
complied
money.
with law, I don't know, right?
Yeah, that's
You
a
have to
different
make the
question.
distinction here between the people trafficking, what it is in the United States, and what it is in Romania, because they have slightly different definitions. Where in the United States, people trafficking is usually getting people from Mexico and taking them over the border and bringing them into the U.S. Over here, if you talk to a chick and you tell her, I'm going to marry you when you come to Romania, and then you have her on OnlyFans when she comes to Romania, even though she does it willingly, it's considered people trafficking.
Mm-hmm.
Because you told her that you would marry her or begin a relationship with her if she did something for you. So it's a bit different. Like the definition is very different. Also, for example, they would have security, right, at the house where the chicks were, because obviously 4, 5, 6, whatever beautiful chicks staying in the same house attracts some attention, and you want some security for them because that's what you are doing. Basically, you are providing them a carefree environment and a carefree world, right? This is the understanding, right? And if you have security there, it's like, oh, but you're not protecting them. You're keeping them from running away, right? You see, they're spinning it, everything in a different direction.
Did Andrew actually run did he manage? Because I know he talks about how he would manage women to help with only.
No, they've openly stated, even on my podcast, there was like 75 gals that they run at one time.
Yeah, they did the camp
that
thing
they
even
were
before
helping to
OnlyFans,
manage
didn't they?
their operation.
What's the question?
So the Tate brothers did manage performers on OnlyFans. Is that a true statement?
If they were managing them personally?
No, was he running a business where he would help to maximize their income, show them how to do it? Because I remember seeing some clips where he talked about like having dudes do the typing because they actually knew what to say to hook people in versus having the girls do it. Did he actually run that business?
I cannot talk on what's happening now because he never invited me to his home, and I don't know what his setup is, honestly. Like, I see the types of statements that he does online, things that you could see by yourself watching some podcasts. And that's as much as I know from now. I know that back in 2017, 2018, where this was still at the beginning, he used to run, he innovated or invented this situation or this setup where he would have the chick on a webcam site and then door next door, and he would be on his laptop actually chatting to the people instead of her. So like the picture is with her, but
so he has managed OnlyFans models, right? Just like a model.
This was from 2017, 2018 though.
Yeah. And I'm not saying that to say that he was breaking the law. I'm just clarifying that he has been in the business of managing OnlyFans models.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're kind of like we're getting into some speculation stuff, and it sounds like a little bit of gossip at this point. So
it's also an ongoing investigation, and I don't want to like trip some wires or something.
Yeah, look, the truth has a way of always revealing itself. So give that some time, and the facts will become clear and obvious. Hopefully,
it's what I can tell you. What I can tell you is that out of the
unless you're Epstein,
what I can tell you is that out of the 6 chicks that were initially in this lawsuit against him, I think there's maybe 1 or 2 left.
Well, I guarantee there's some money going to them for them to stick around at this point. I really hope you guys enjoyed that clip. If you want to watch the full-length podcast, you can find that over here, that clip's from. If you're newer to the channel, make sure you hit subscribe over here. And pin down below in the top comment, you'll find a bunch of useful links to my website, my supplement line books, and a bunch of other stuff. Have an amazing day. Peace out.